Lane, let's get into an article that you just recently wrote. It's called What It Takes for Accountability to Be Successful. Tell us a little bit about it. What inspired you to write this article?
Yeah. So what inspired me to write this article is a combination of factors. One is like my own personal experiences, and then two, just what I see like being a church member and being a counselor all at the same time. And there's a lot of people growing up, I knew that I needed accountability for a lot of things in my life. And I would get together with my friends and we'd say, guys, let's do this. And it never happened. Those problems that we were wanting accountability for, whether that was working out, eating right, reading our Bible more, or even things like pornography, never really changed because our accountability was not good. And then as I come in and I'm a church member now, there's again people that come to me that says do accountability, or I'm coaching people on accountability, and their lives never change because they don't have a good plan and the accountability partners aren't willing to stick with them. And then when I come into practice, the number one factor for a lot of things is being able to have the accountability to do the things that they need to do. And I can't be there for, I'm only there weekly most of the time, and they need other people to help. And so I've just seen the lack of a lot of understanding of what accountability means and entails. And I've done it myself too. And so I wanted to write this article to those that are seeking accountability, those who are accountable, and really to myself too, to remind myself, this is what good accountability looks like.
Yeah. So everyone needs to be held accountable. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, everybody needs to be accountable. So it's really, anybody should be able to read this and find something that's
That's
helpful
right.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. From pastors to church people, everyone. I agree with that. That's good. So tell us why. What's the why behind accountability?
Mhm. Yeah. So the question is how deep and theological we want to be able to get this why of why we need accountability.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Christian, I truly believe that we are made in the image of God, but we also have a sin nature as well. And that sin nature wants to do things that are not helpful to us or to those around us. And so there's certain things that come up in our lives that will keep us away from having a good relationship with God, good relationship with our wives, our spouses, our friends, and even like ourselves. And so and there's lots of different factors, pretty much just sin, but those can be, like I said earlier, working out, eating right, taking care of yourself well, or even just having a harsh tongue, pornography, right? All of these different things we need accountable for, because it's not the way that God has designed us, and that pulls us further away from the Father, but also away from those that are around us. And God created us to live in connection with one another and in relationship. So if we allow these things to continue our lives, it's going to further isolate us and compound the other things that come up in our lives that isolate us even more. It's kind of like an avalanche. Once we allow things to continue in our lives, it's just going to start to become a runaway freight train. And we need to be able to have people come in our lives and keep us accountable to working on those things and growing closer to each other and closer to God.
Yeah. So God has provided a solution for the sin issue, Jesus Christ, right? And he's also provided a solution for the struggle, and that's the church. You know, he always has an answer, it seems, for what our culture is going through. It's just, can we really, lock into that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, in your article, you mentioned 4 tips for seeking accountability. Explain each of these, because I thought these were pretty good, even for myself reading them. So, yeah.
Yeah. So those 4 tips are: be brave, be deliberate, be honest, and be specific, right? So when we need accountability, we have to be brave. I truly believe it takes more courage to look at somebody that you can deeply care about and looking them in the eyes and saying, I have this problem. I think that takes an extreme amount of courage, because there's a lot of, I think culture has done a disservice to us, saying there's shame about being weak. So That stops a lot of people from seeking accountability because they have this unrealistic expectation upon themselves saying, I can't be weak.
Yeah.
It's actually more brave and courageous to be able to step into those situations and saying, I have these things going on in my life and I need help. So be brave.
Yeah, that's good. Takes courage to talk about where you are in life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes courage and vulnerability. And that goes in. The second one is be deliberate. So we can all look at ourselves and see things that need to change, but those that are truly going to change are the ones that takes action after them. Growing up, I had a pretty messy room, and I'm like, I need to clean this, but that would go on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks until my mom would come in to say, hey, you need to do this. When we feel the pull, the kick in our spirit to knowing that this is a place of our lives where we need to grow, we have to be deliberate in saying, I need to take care of this, and it can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So takes courage, be deliberate.
Be
what about the honest? Yeah.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, it takes bravery to be honest up front. Where this third point, be honest, really comes into play once we're already in accountability, because we can take that initial step of saying, okay, I need help, but then those people aren't with us 100% of the time, especially when we're looking for accountability on pornography or eating right, or other things like that. We can cheat and no one would ever know, or we can be struggling with these other things and no one would ever know. It takes more honesty for us to be able to say, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm struggling. I mean, we really see a good example of what honesty looks like in Mark 14 with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, where we know he's going to go to the cross, but he really does not want to. And he's really honest with God, saying, hey, this is where I'm at. And he's not shamed. He's welcomed for it. And then we see him in a couple of chapters later end up dying on the cross for our sins. And so to me, that's an encouragement to be able to see that even when we are struggling with the thing that we want to accomplish, we have to be honest with where we're at for it to be successful, because that allows our accountability partners to come in and give us grace and give us the help that we need when we're honest.
Yeah, that's good. So how about being specific about where we are?
Yeah.
What we're going through?
Yeah, being specific where we're at and where we are, but also where we want to go. Because I really like what Stephen Covey and a lot of other business leaders talk about with SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, and time bound. I would encourage people to have a SMART goal when you're going into accountability, because there's been times in my own life when I said, oh, I want to be accountable, I want to do this. And I got marked off so much in college for putting this because it's so vague. And so we want to be able to be really specific with what we're accomplishing. What does it look like when we have accomplished it? And how long are we trying to get there? Right? When a good example is when we're working out. We want to work out. Okay. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to build muscle? Do you want to lean out? How are we going to accomplish that? By doing low rep, high rep, whatever. And how long are we going to do that? How often a week are we going to do that? How long? We need to have action steps to how we're going to accomplish this goal, because it's specific. We know when we're on track or off track, and it allows our accountability partners to know when to keep us accountable too, when they have a roadmap as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So tell us a little bit about some advice that you would give to someone who was asked to be an accountability partner. I was reminded of Romans 12 when I saw this question. It says, let love be genuine, hate what is evil, hold fast to what is good, love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor. I thought, what a model that we have for those of us who are trying to be the accountability partner. But take us a little bit deeper into it. What advice would you give someone?
Yeah. I love that. I love Romans. And I also love what's later said in the New Testament is we are supposed to love each other in grace and truth. And being accountability partner is hard. I think there's days where it's a harder task to be the accountability partner than it is the accountable. Because there's a really fine line and tension with that grace and truth. And we have a huge person to model after, like Jesus Christ. He's the one who did it the best. And so like no pressure, right? And so my advice to those who are accountability partners is be ready to work hard, and be ready to commit, because this person's really struggling and they need your help. They're really looking to you to help them. And there can be this faulty expectation when we are accountability partners that they're going to do all the work, right? We just have to sit here and congratulate them and say, good job, you did it. That's often, most of the time, not the case.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to really work in the trenches with these people that we're keeping accountable, reach out to them, go after them, because there's so much shame oftentimes that even after reaching out for accountability that they're not ready to reach out to you when they're struggling. So you have to be responsible to go out to them. And so I think Henry Cloud's coined this phrase, unmerited grace. Really, we see that in the Bible. It's what we receive every single day from Christ himself for our sins. We have to be able to take the stance of unmerited grace to those that we are keeping accountable.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it also takes that person who's being the accountability partner to be very intentional with their work. With people, because I know I've often seen that as a pastor. Like I've seen the accountability partners just kind of, sit in the back seat and like, well, I'm waiting on them. No, don't just wait on them, because you never know what they're going through. It's like in the dark night, like what are they doing? You've got to be really intentional about it. So talk to us a little bit about the person who is seeking accountability. What's some advice you would give them?
Yeah.
Maybe tell us a little bit about some of the type of the people that they need to seek out.
Yeah. So my first piece, I think, before advice is just encouragement. This is normal. Anybody that doesn't need accountability is lying to themselves. This is normal. It's not immature to seek help. It actually shows maturity and a desire to grow. Advice on when we're seeking accountability. Really look to those that are around you, those that you're closest to, and then really pick out the people that you admire the most of accomplishing the thing that you've done, that you want to accomplish. If you want to work out more, find the guy that you're like, okay, I respect your discipline. I respect the things that you do. Can you help me? When we're seeking accountability for pornography or things like that, seek those that have purity right now. And so, because that allows you to have someone who's wiser in the areas that you are weaker in to pour into you and help you avoid the potential pitfalls that you're not likely to see, and help you really understand what it's like to function in this area of your life that you haven't been functioning before.
Yeah, that's good. So you mentioned this in your article. Should it be the same sex, or should it be somebody different? And what does that look like?
Yeah, there'd be some people that disagree with me, but I always tend to be, especially with these deeper matters of spirituality, and like I said earlier, I've been saying pornography a lot because that's the thing that men especially, and women too, need accountability for. It really needs to be the same sex. It really does. The reason for that is because these are very vulnerable and emotional things. And when we open up our hearts to like that, it can create a lot of emotions that we don't understand. And people's help and accountability can be mistaken for something different when they're really just trying to help. And it causes conflict. It causes us to take a few steps back, and even harms the relationship that was. And so things are never the same again. So really, we need, God's created accountability, same-sex accountability. We see that in, again, the Garden of Gethsemane, he's there with his brothers. He's there with his brothers in this time of need. And so Yeah, there can be this misconception of what, like, oh, well, you're married, do you have same-sex relationships? I mean, yeah, God's created marriage to be a reflection of accountability, right? I think my wife is one of my greatest accountability partners. But when we're diving into the deep things he's created, the church to be able to provide those men and those women around us to help us in those times of need.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's good. So one other question about this. Speak to the moms, the dads or spouses who have been trying to get their son or their daughter or their wife or their husband to get accountability, but they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
What's some kind of encouragement or maybe some advice you can give them?
Yeah. This is harder for me because I don't have kids, but I remember what my dad did for me. What he did for me is he would be very blunt with the places that I was not doing well. However, and he told me this weekend when I saw him, that I will always be honest with you when you ask me to be honest, right? You have to be able to make your own decisions and know when you need help. I will be ready and willing to help you whenever you need it. However, it is your responsibility to take responsibility for your actions and ownership for that. We can, as those that are living in community, we can always point out what's going wrong and hard. However, that tends to breed a lot of shame. We need to be able to create this space where people feel received, loved, and cared for. And that will bring the opportunities for them to say, hey, I'm really struggling here. I feel safe enough to share this with you. When we don't condemn them, they feel that safety and we're able to come alongside them, opposed to saying someone that's like, you've done everything wrong your entire life and you'll never do everything ever again. They'll never want to seek accountability because they're afraid that they might fail.
Yeah. So it sounds like if you're constantly nagging them, chances are they're probably not going to go get help.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
It just goes back to that scripture that I mentioned, just that gentle love, the grace plus the truth, because they have to be intertwined with each other. Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah. And that starts from day one, right? It starts from very young. We see this in so many research studies growing up, that the people who are successful, that have a good attachment, they receive it from day one. They know that their mom and dad loves them regardlessly of what happens, just the way that we feel the love from the Father every single day, regardlessly of what we do.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I want to encourage everyone to check out the article because it's very good and very needed for our culture today. So thank you, Lane, for writing that.